abstract essay where ideas take shape, thoughts find depth, and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. He is a debut author and the author of the debut book, Learning to Be Me, Lessons and Perspectives. No other than Mr. Derrick Henderson.
Hello, thank you.
Welcome on Abstract Essay, Mr. Derrick. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
Yes, I've been writing all my life. It's something I started as a kid, but I never had the courage to actually put anything out that I had written, and so I recently went through a program that helped me to get out of my own head and get more in touch with who I was, and I dove into that further and further. Besides being a massage therapist, having a short career as a mail carrier, working in manual labor as a block mason, um, and I've still been doing the massage therapy, but I really found my calling back to writing. And for me, it's a way of expressing how I've always felt, but I didn't feel like my message was something that I was in the right place to share. And so now I've reconnected with who I am as a person and all of the lessons and values that I've gained. And I've been able to communicate with so many more people and help so many more people because I've got in touch with who I truly am, my authentic self. And when I show up that way and I can communicate with people in real life situations and give them examples of real life situations that have shifted because of a mindset shift or looking at different perspectives on the same situation, it helps people to develop more of a connection with themselves. And a lot of people have this tendency to want to show up as the person they think other people want to see or they think other people would accept. I think that's a big thing. People want to be accepted. And so they feel like, I know I did, that if I didn't meet certain expectations, if I wasn't a fantastic massage therapist, if I wasn't the best block mason, if I wasn't all of these extremes, that I would not be able to be anything. Like if I wasn't the best, then I needed to basically bow out. And I've learned over many years and getting in touch with myself that everybody has that same feeling of not being perfect at everything, wanting to do their best, and then the feelings of failure because we set the expectations so high to be perfect. And then when we don't meet that extremely high level of perfection, then we bring ourselves down and criticize ourselves, make ourselves feel smaller, and then pull back into ourselves. So it's
Well, Mr. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Hoping for more and more empowering books like this to on. So, Mr. Derek, tell us what is learning to be me all about?
learning to be me was about reflecting on growing up throughout my life and coming to this point in my life where I have all of these lessons, all of these new perspectives that if I would have had them 20 years ago or 30 years ago, um, my life would have been different. And I think a lot of us get to a certain point in our life and we're looking back on our younger self and we're saying things like, I wish I would have known now or known then what I know now. And for me, this book was writing to that younger version of me that would have benefited from this knowledge and gifting that to the world so that they also have the opportunity to learn some of the lessons that I've learned throughout my life in a condensed version so that they can get the benefits without having to experience all of the turmoil that can go along with it. And so it's my gift to my younger self, and it's my contribution to help people get more in touch with who they truly are. I really dive deep into your values, where some of your cultural influences can influence how you see things, and help people to ask some of the questions that dive into who they truly are. Like, why do I do this particular thing? So it could be, why do I have the tendency to get frustrated with people and yell? It could be, growing up, I didn't feel like I was heard. So I felt like I had to yell to get people's attention so they would hear me. And you can dive into, well, why did you feel even farther? And you can end up getting to a place where you get to the root of what is contributing to how you're living your life now. And then you get to see if that's really who you are authentically. Am I the person that identifies with being angry when somebody says something that I don't agree with? Or am I the person that can listen to what they have to say, disagree with them, and not get frustrated at them and yell and get angry because they don't see my point of view? A lot of people want everybody to see their point, but they're not as receptive to listen to another perspective that might contrast with what they believe. And when we do that, we miss out on a great gift, the gift of additional perspectives. Somebody else can gift us. We might not agree with everything they say. We might not even agree with anything they say. But when they gift us the privilege of knowing things that matter to them, that have value to them, then we know how to better connect or disconnect from those type of people if they're not going to be people that align with where we're going, or if they are people that align with where we're going, we're going to know better how to connect with them because we're showing up as who we are. We're allowing other people to be authentic and show up as themselves rather than as somebody who has to be something or tries to show up for us in a way they think we want them to. And when that happens, people end up frustrated with one another, resentful of one another because they don't feel heard. And so there's a lot in the book to talk about anger, fear, our values, where they come from. Um, I really love that I get to do that and then share like a child's perspective on life and how that can influence us growing up throughout life. And that's kind of the joy that I have been able to experience in life now that I can look back and reflect on all the experiences. And I really get a lot of joy when I hear back from people what the book gave them or what they got out of the book. So it's been a gift.
It's been a gift for sure. The title Journey Learning to Be Me suggests a process of discovery. What do you believe defined you before this journey, and how has that definition transformed?
So before I wrote the book, before I went through the processes, I was a person that was going through the motions. I was doing everything on paper that should make me happy. I had a good job. I was doing something I enjoyed. I was making good money. I had a very nice, lovely wife and a very good life on paper. But I was exhausting myself, working excessively to try and create or fill some void that was there. I thought that if I could just make more money, if I could just do more, that eventually I would get far enough ahead that then I could be myself. Then I could do what I wanted. Then I could see what value I was bringing to the world. But until I could get to that goal of everything's paid off, um, schedule's full all the time, everything's perfect, then I can't be happy because I need everything to be perfect. I had this high bar, this unrealistic expectation of what had to be achieved in order to find happiness. I had this bar set so high that I had to be perfect in all areas. I had to have the job, I had to have the six-figure business that was booming, I had to have a wonderful family that I did everything for. And I wasn't taking into account who I was as a person. I just was a person doing. I was a person continuing to pursue doing more, thinking that if I did more, eventually I would find happiness. I would find who I truly was. Because if you're doing more, then that means something in my mind at that time. I wanted to meet myself in this new area. And I thought when I finally achieved all of these things, that I would feel grand, I would feel happy, I would find purpose in life. And it was always, every time I would get to a point, I was moving the goalpost again. Well, I have achieved this. I got a six-figure business. Okay, great. Yeah, but I could get more. I could have this paid off. I could have this paid off. I could be doing this. I could be able to help more people if I did this. I created this never ending cycle of continuous need for validation of who I was. I took my purpose from people telling me I was a great massage therapist. I took my purpose from people telling me I was a great husband, uh, a great family man. People appreciated how I showed up. And I was doing that, like I described, to try to fit the mold that in my mind I was envisioning somebody else setting for me. Like I was trying to live up to somebody else's expectations that they never expressed to me. So I was living a life where I was just going through the motions. I wasn't doing it because I wanted to. I was doing it because I felt like if I didn't do it, nobody else would. And I felt like if I could do it, I had to do it. And so there would be times where I would be doing things that I had no interest in doing just because I felt like I had to. And then you build up some resentment within yourself because you're not following who you truly are. You're not doing what authentically matters to you. You are doing things from a place of constantly trying to appear like you're happy with yourself or you're happy in life. And that was me prior to going through this process and prior to really getting true to myself and putting these words out here. Because a lot of these things I had learned even before going to the program, but I didn't feel like I was the person qualified enough to be speaking out about these things. I didn't feel like I was initially qualified enough to be writing this book. And then the more I talked with people, the more I gave them these examples, and they said, "Well, why aren't you sharing this information farther? You could be reaching more people. The world needs to hear these things. There's a lot more people that need to connect with the reality of who they really are." And the more I shared my concepts, the more people were saying these are things that resonate with them and that made sense, or it was like I was writing from their perspective of how they saw life, and it gave them ways to open up that they hadn't considered before, gave them new perspectives that they hadn't considered before on how they grew up, on the life they had lived till now, and the way they were self-imposing things on themselves.
How much learning to be me was actually about unlearning, shedding expectations, labels, and identities that were imposed by others.
A lot of learning to be me was getting to a place where I could see that the way people engage with me is not a reflection of who I am. It can be a reflection of how I show up, but it's not a reflection of who I am as a person. And more into the book, I was getting into the concept of who I was and how I was expanding in new ways. So I start talking about childhood and connecting mindset, because your mind, if you are in a place where you're constantly finding conflicting information and information that doesn't resonate with who you are, it doesn't resonate with your own values, and you're flooding yourself with that information, then you're not giving your space, give yourself space to grow, because you're constantly trying to deflect this information that's not helpful. And I find that a lot of people can get into that place where they're in defense all the time. And when you can get to the place where you are comfortable with who you are, because you know what your values are, you know what matters to you beyond what you grew up hearing you were supposed to be. I'm supposed to be this great man. I can't do this. I should do this. I need to be making six figures to take care of a family. I need to be purchasing this new car so that people think I've got this booming business. It becomes a issue of perception, because we're trying to project to others this view of success that a lot of times isn't something that matters to us. We're just trying to present that picture to other people. And there's a lot of people that are content with life the way it is for them. But then they hear somebody else say, well, you should want more. Or they hear somebody else say, yeah, but you don't have this. And then it puts that little critic in their mind. Well, my life might be fine now, but it should be more. I should be doing more. I should be getting more. And when we start chasing more, that never ends. We just keep moving that bar farther and farther away from who we are.
And Mr. Derek, as a debut author, what are your short term and long term goals?
So, my short term goal is to get my name out there and to be able to engage with more people and have more of these great conversations, like being on your show. I really appreciate you. And I've listened to quite a few of your episodes, and I like how you pull the genuine authenticity out of people. you're guiding your audience into new ways and helpful ways to expand themselves. So I really appreciate you for being able to do that. For me, I'm wanting to do that as well. Maybe not in the podcast sense, but I love being on these shows where I can help people. Um, Long term, I do have another book in the works. I do see myself being able to do talks to larger groups and maybe help people in semi small group settings to be able to find themselves and to connect with others in meaningful ways rather than showing up as somebody they think other people want to see, allowing them the space to open up to who they actually are. And so, long term, I would like to be able to see more people in a way that allows me to help them to get more in touch with their empathy, get more in touch with their authenticity. And I'm hoping my content will continue to inspire people to dive into who they truly are and get us to a world that's a better place for everyone because everyone is true to their own values and not trying to live up to other people's expectations of them.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Derek, and looking forward for more success. And what would be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be an author like you?
If they want to be an author like me, I would say make sure you take the time to develop your concept. One of the things I've done in other books before I really sat down and put this one together is I would just kind of write randomly whatever came to mind. And I still do that to a certain point. However, one of the things that helped me with this book was to have a unifying theme and kind of stick to that theme and then include my own experiences and communicate that in a way that creates flow. So I would build on concepts, um, and that's what I'm also doing in the next book that I just got done kind of doing initial edits. That one should be out towards the end of this year.
Well, thank you for that advice, Mr. Derek. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
So there was a couple books. One book was by Doug Holt. It's a man's guide to how to save your marriage without having to talk about it. That one was influential and inspiring my initial uh, growth into myself. And then No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Glover. That one was very beneficial in understanding a lot more of the male perspective and how we can get caught up in trying to people please. And that was very helpful in helping me to explore that concept myself and how it influenced my life.
And thank you for that recommended book, Mr. Derek. And tell us, how did you identify your core values and how do they now serve as your compass for making decisions that are true to you?
The way I established my core values was sitting down and with a piece of paper writing out how I felt about different aspects of life. So it would be um, experiences with my kids. I enjoy that. So family is important to me. Spending time with my grandkids, important. I enjoy that. Once again, family. I enjoy time with um, engaging with my business and communicating with other people. That was one of the concepts that I was so in my head about that I oftentimes would not take. I would communicate with people one on one, but I wouldn't take the time to really do it from my perspective. A lot of times I was trying to do it to please them. So coming to the recognition that I was people pleasing and that sometimes I don't have to agree with other people. So I learned in that process of writing it out that there are times when what matters to me may be a conflicting thought to somebody else, but it doesn't discount my value on that thing. I don't have to agree with the other person, but I had to learn that it was okay in my own right to have my own opinions. Because before going into people pleasing, I would try and just get along and I wouldn't communicate how I was feeling. That was another big thing that I learned was I would shy away from certain emotions because I didn't feel like I could express them effectively. And so as I did uh, learn to communicate affection for one, um, it was something that I always enjoyed. A hug was always welcome for me, but I had given myself this weird conception of what it meant to other people. And that doesn't mean I go around randomly hugging people. I just want to clarify that. But but if if it's a family member and we're having a good day and we're saying our goodbyes, a hug is warranted. If it's a good friend and we're saying our goodbyes, a hug is warranted. And it was an aspect of life I was neglecting myself on because I was giving myself a story that it was weird or that um, it shouldn't matter to me. I was discounting what my values were at that point because I wasn't allowing myself to express myself in ways that meant something to me.
Mr. Derek, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101 Love Letters in third season, and my movie 101 review and music 101 in fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Derek, tell us if you could summarize the entire journey of learning to be me into one fundamental lesson to share with the world, what would it be?
To find your true essence, what makes you feel bubbly and excited in life, and do more of that. That's
Yes,
who you are. That's what
indeed.
really matters.
To be bubbly. I like it. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Hoping for more and more empowering books like this to come. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your debut book?
Yes, you can find my book right on my website. If you go to www.derrickhendersonauthor.com, that's DERRICK Henderson.author.com. And if you go on there, you can also connect to me on Facebook and all of the other platforms that I'm on. So thank you very much for having me on, and I really appreciate you.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Derrick Henderson because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Mr. Derrick, thank you so much for your time.
And thank you, Daniel, for having me on. You're an awesome person. Thank you.
More to come, people. See you soon.